All right, number 11. If the angle measuring x degrees is complementary, that means they add to 90 degrees, to the angle that is supplementary, that means they add to 180 degrees together, what is the value of x? Well, if it's supplementary to that, it's going to be 180 minus 153, and that'll be 27. And then if it's complementary to that angle, it's just going to be 90 minus 27, which is 63. All right, number 12, Romeo and Juliet start with the same number of roses. So let's say they both start with X roses. So if they start with X roses, after Romeo gives 20 to Juliet, so X minus 20, he gave them away. Now Juliet she started with X, Juliet did, and then we add 20 because Romeo gave her 20 roses. But we know that, where was it there? 5 times. Juliet now has 5 times as many as Romeo. So if we take, this is Romeo, this is Juliet. Right now they're not equal to each other, right? Because, well, obviously. So now, since Romeo gave away those 20, if we multiply that by 5, it would equal what Juliet has now because it says it's 5 times as much. So now I just solve this equation, right? So I distribute the 5 and get 5x minus 100 equals x plus 20. Next up, I'm going to subtract x to both sides, and I get 4x minus 100 is 20. I add 100 to both sides, and I get 4x is 120. And then if I divide by 4, I get x is 30. And it says, how many did Romeo have at the start? Well, Romeo and Juliet both had 30 at the start. All right, I'm just going to erase that for this problem. Okay, number 13. For some integer x, twice the absolute difference, and again, absolute just means it's positive, and difference means we're subtracting, between x and 2. So if I take x minus 2 is equal to x plus 6. And it does say twice that difference, so I need to distribute that 2 to that to make them equal. So now I just distribute the 2. I get 2x minus 4 equals x plus 6. I'm going to subtract x to both sides. Running out of room there, so I'm going to write that over here. So x minus 4 equals 6. I add 4, and I add 4, and I'm going to get x is 10. All right, number 14. A circle has area 16 pi inches squared. What is the area of a square inscribed? Inscribed means it's inside and it touches on its vertices, right? So it's touching that circle with its vertices, so it fits all the way inside that circle. All right, so think inscribed inside is a nice way to remember that. Inscribed inside. Okay, so the circle's area formula is apple pies are 2, so a equals pi r squared. So if I just plug that in over here for the area, it's 16 pi is pi r squared. So if I divide by pi to try to solve for r, those cancel and I get r squared is 16. Whoops. So if r squared is 16, then if I take the square root of both sides, r would just be 4. So the radius, if I go from the center to that vertex, is 4. And another kind of cool thing I can do here is if I just go like this and connect that vertex over there, there's a pretty cool relationship that happens there because think about central angles. Central angle is this angle that's inside. Let me show that with a highlighter. It's inside right there. That central angle, its circle is 360. So if we just do 360 divided by the number of sides, well, the square has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So 360 divided by 4, each of those angles is going to be 90. So this is actually a right triangle right here, and that's 4. And we know these two are the same, so that's 4. So now I could either do Pythagorean theorem, or I could remember the 1 root 2 relationship between any 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. So 1 root 2 means basically that the 90, the side that's opposite the 90 is root 2 times more than the side opposite the 45. So in other words, take that 4 and multiply it by root 2, and that side's 4 root 2. Well, now to find the area of that square, I just take, I'm going to erase some of this stuff. I'm going to take that 4 root 2 and just multiply it by 4 root 2 because it's side times side is the area of a square. So I'm going to group these together. So 4 times 4 is grouped together, and then root 2 times root 2 is grouped together. I'll just put those inside together. And that's really just root 4, right? So what's the square root of 4? That's 2. So 2 times 4 is my answer. And 2 times 4 is going to be 32. All right, number 15, a pair of fair standard 6-sided dice is rolled. What is the probability that the sum of the numbers rolled is 5? Well, right now there are 6 options on the first die and 6 options on the second die. So 6 times 6 is my total number of outcomes. That's going to be my denominator. Now we want to find out the number of favorable outcomes, right? That's what probability means, is favorable over total, right? So we know it's out of 36. We just need to find out the number of favorable outcomes. Well, how can I get a 5? Well, I could do a 1 and a 4, or I could get a 4 and a 1. I could roll a 2 and a 3, or I could roll a 3 and a 2. So there's 4 different ways, so 4 out of 36. So I just reduce that, and I get 1/9. So number 15 is 1/9.